good afternoon, and welcome to Microverse Meetings, where I'm going to make a sculpture and talk to you about all the random stuff that I think about it whilst I'm making it. So, in this sculpture demonstration, I will be taking a record of a culture, a sourdough culture. This is made from a starter. Here's my starter. You need a starter is the active part of a sourdough bread. And sourdough bread has recently become massively back in trend again due to its much better, much healthier qualities than our normal bread that we're used to. This is due mainly to a process of fermentation, where fermentation acts like a primary digestion for the grains that are quite difficult for our bodies to actually break down. It allows us to ingest more of the micronutrients involved. So you get higher protein content, higher vitamin content from your bread, which is something we're not really used to. We think of it as being something quite unhealthy. So, for the starter, for my culture bomb that we're making, we need equal parts of the starter, the water and flour. So I'm using organic rye flour today. It's been milled just outside of Salisbury, so pretty local to Dorset. The mill's 1,000 years old. It's been processing flour since probably the start of the agricultural revolution, where we really started to use flour and grains to their full potential. Their high carbohydrate use was very clear to us during the agricultural revolution, where we had to work a lot harder for our meals compared to when we were hunter-gatherers. Just mix that all up together. So, sourdough starters are pretty special things. They are alive. They have a special fungus inside of them, which is its Latin name translates into little sugar mould. And this little sugar mould is in the air all around us. It travels like fungi, because it is a member of the fungi family. It travels in spores, drifts across the world. And the way you start a sourdough culture, and the way it was probably started originally, was just leaving flour and water out on the side. After about 5 days, it will start to bubble and ferment. This is the start of a fermenting process. And the bacteria has now become alive. It's breeding within the flour and the water. It's using the flour as its food and the water as its drink to breed and mate with other spores inside of them, and create its own community of breathing, living organisms. And it will breed and breed until the food is no longer available, till its environment can no longer sustain it. So this is how you make a starter. And it's pretty slow acting. It'll take about 3 hours to come to its active period. At that point, it will start to bubble up. It'll be light. You know it's ready to make bread because you can take a scoop out, put it in the water, and it should float. The carbon dioxide that is produced will be enough to keep the dough afloat without the rest of the bread sinking. This is when you know it's ready. So, once your culture is active and it's breeding, it's its most productive point, you have something that looks like this, with lots and lots of air pockets in it. Lots of air pockets. Ooh, smells very yeasty as well. Now, decided to make these into bombs, these culture bombs, because at the moment we are in a time where we are making a record of our culture, a very precise record. On the internet, we can constantly upload anything we want to, anything we find entertaining, and anybody can find it if they search for it. It's a self-fulfilling method of making entertainment, making culture, making things that are relevant to us, things that we enjoy, things that we search for. The internet is a useful tool, an extremely useful tool. I mean, we all search for it. We all search for anything that we want to know more about. It kind of holds the secrets of all our inner desires. It also holds the secrets of who we talk to, who we interact with, what we look at whilst we're on the internet. The things that we do in our downtime, this is our relaxing time usually that we use these things. It's a very in-depth map of the human psyche. And this is interesting to me because at this time, we're making these records, making these vast databases of who we are as a people. We're also creating a new consciousness, something that I don't think we've done before, something that is unknown to us, something that has truly only been the place of gods before us in stories. With AI, the possibility of making something that is able to think by itself, to act within its own universe, the internet, I mean, it will be able to do things that will affect us in this world, but not have true, it won't have a true agency, as it is not a physical being. But it will be able to read us. That's what's weird. I was watching a TED talk the other day that was trying to explain to the audience about the intelligence of AI, and how at the moment recently this year it beat a human at the hardest board game that we have, Zhong, I think it's called. It beat a chess player in the 90s, the best chess player. Although its intelligence is still only rated as that close to a mouse, then 5 or 10 years it will be something close to an ape. And then beyond, as the growth of its intelligence is so quick and so exponential, it's probably going to pass us very quickly. It's not going to be something that we notice. It's not going to be something that will be very clear to us, as it's working in an environment where we kind of don't really know how it works ourselves. Like, there's a specific set of people within this world that know how to use it. One of those being Mark Zuckerberg, who showed when he was questioned by Congress about his platform that politicians have no clue how it's used. They have no clue how it works. They have no clue the precedent that it sets within the community, within all of our communities, within our global community. Something that retard, Donald Trump, he knew something about that. He knew that. He manipulated Facebook to gain votes. He realised how powerful propaganda tool it was. Shame the rest of them didn't realise how powerful it was. They underestimated it. Oh well. But yeah, where was I going with this? So there's 3 equal parts to this. There's the life that came before the starter. It's the generations of yeast that I've built up. This is a now 5-month-old culture. I've been feeding it weekly every time I use it. Been taking some of its population away, been replacing it with food and water. So it's built off the backbone of its previous generations. It is also built off the food you give it. So if you give it highly processed white flour, it doesn't grow as well. It's not as enriching for you, and it just doesn't last as long. It's too easily available. The food is too easy for it, which is something I don't think it's palpable in society today, because food has been made, since the Industrial Revolution, food has been made easier and easier and easier for us to consume, easier for us to buy, easier for us to cook. Like, the skills that we once had of being able to cook and grow our own food have been lost, really. They were rebuilt slightly during the Second World War, but other than that, it's just been taken away from us generation by generation, to where microwave meals are a thing. Like, they make up the majority of the meals that are being eaten. Like, they're simple, easy to make, quick meals that you don't think anything of, but they're full of sugar and salt and just not very enriching for your body. Like, things need time. Now, over generations of hundreds of years, like, society have been fermenting foods to store their foods, to make easily available vegetables, such as kimchi and sauerkraut. One being a very European dish, and the other being an extremely Korean dish. Kimchi is so popular in Korea that all fridges come with a kimchi drawer. They live off the stuff. Like, it's so good for you. And again, that fermentation process helps break down the vegetables, so you can gain extra macronutrients that you just wouldn't get from it if you digested it yourself. Like, our Western microbiomes in our stomach, which is our friendly gut bacteria, are drastically weaker than other cultures. We don't challenge them whatsoever. Like, we eat food that is full of antibiotics. Like, our meat is constantly fed with antibiotics, and that filters down into killing off our friendly gut bacteria. It doesn't allow us to break down our food properly. It doesn't allow us to gain full nutritional benefit from anything that we eat. That being said, they're not as nutritious anyway. Our food is not as good for us as it used to be. It's dwindling in nutrients. It's dwindling in vitamins. It's dwindling in anything that's good for you, really. But the internet's an amazing thing. You can find out all sorts of crazy things. And it's non-hierarchical. It's anarchic. Like, the sharing of information is controlled by the population. It's unoverpowerable by the government unless laws come into place. So this is why I'm making these culture bombs in the shape of Molotov cocktails, to harness that riotous spirit that comes with a Molotov cocktail, that protest against the information that we're given, not being able to challenge that information that we're given. It's a sad thing. And one thing that the internet has helped us is to have that tool to be able to feed our imaginations. And in this time where we are about to be overtaken by another consciousness that can see everything that we're filming on that, we're recording everything that we put on there. What effect will AI have on our culture as we have had on fungal and plant cultures that have come before us, what will happen then? We have learnt to manipulate these and work in ways that are good for us. Will AI do the same? Will we become just simple, single-celled organisms to them that we just there to feed their life, to enrich them? But I don't think we even know the full potential of fungal bacterias. There's so many things that we don't know. Like, fungi can help decalcify the neurons in your brain, which is thought to be a catalyst of Alzheimer's disease, which creates inflammation in the brain. Like, there's mushrooms called lion's mane, which is a very, very old English mushroom that grows from oak trees that can help decalcify the neurons in your brain. It helps increase brain function. It helps the communication between the two hemispheres of your brain, aiding in more creativity and applying physical, concrete knowledge, academic knowledge, and being able to apply that into creative and unforeseen manners, ways that have never been seen before. Like, apply it to just apply knowledge in new ways and better ways. So, as my silicon sets, it will take about an hour. It will fill into all the crevices. It will make a detailed structure of the breathing that goes on inside of my culture. It will fall into the air pockets. It will capture the waste CO2. It will fill the gaps that were previously in our society. Those are my sculptures. I hope you make one at home. I hope you take on board the true power of anarchic culture and go forth and spread it yourself. Add to these webs, add to these knowledge bases, add to it, be part of it. Come to my next show. Thanks very much. Good evening.